So, Michael, could you please introduce yourself and your company and where you're calling from today?
Sure. Yeah, so I'm Mike Hane, Director of Product Marketing in the Transportation Management pillar with Descartes Systems Group. So Descartes, we're a global software service provider built on a global logistics network. So meaning that we have connected to hundreds of thousands of supply chain partners, terminals, carriers, government agencies, shippers, carriers, all that sort of thing. We've connected with brokers, and what we do is we make it possible to organize and orchestrate all the supply chain planning and execution that goes on with supply chains globally, all modes, everywhere in the world.
Yep. Before we hit the record button, we were talking about the different pillars that make up Descartes because it's a big company. What are those pillars? How many are there, first off?
So basically, it's about five pillars. So we have last mile, local routing, mobile technology. Yeah. So that's a big pillar for us. A lot of work there. Like I said, I work in the transportation management pillar, so that's kind of your traditional TMS, but it's also real-time tracking with like MacroPoint, dock appointment scheduling, carrier vetting, fraud monitoring, those sorts of things. We also have a e-com fulfillment pillar, so we're doing like pick, pack, and ship, and kind of lightweight WMS in that, not a full traditional like WMS like some of the big guys out there. Then we also have our global trade intelligence. So there's a lot of data on that around the global shipping profile. So it's useful for folks that are freight forwarders that are looking where they can sell their services. But we also do things there like denied party screening. Making sure you're running a clean supply chain. You don't have slave labor. You're not buying from a Russian oligarch. Stuff like that. So there's a lot of things. Tariffs. What's the tariff this week? Helping people set up foreign trade zones.
Tariff of the week, of course.
Yeah. So there's been a lot going on in that neck of the woods lately. And then we also have a broker freight forwarder pillar that gets into customs and regulatory compliance as well. And so that's just very focused on the international modes, and air freight, ocean freight, and all that good stuff.
Well, it's interesting because the world has gotten a lot more complex and the expectations are so much higher. And you guys have, we were talking before we hit the record button. I said something about your TMS, which you said it's multiple our TMSs. And because I noticed, I said, oh, 3G, Descartes 3G. I was like, wasn't there? You go, no, we bought them. And so it's not one TMS that you guys have, it's multiple, but it's the recognition that what a freight forwarder might need might be different than what an e-com guy needs. And, everybody has different needs. And I think we all want visibility. We all want, security. And we'll talk about all this in a minute. But the best companies like Descartes, are not one size fits all.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I've, like I said, been doing TMS for a long time, and it's right. There is no one. Everyone used to ask me all the time, "What's the best TMS?" And it's like
Who are you? What are your
there's the
needs?
right yeah there's the right one for you, right? And that's not the same across all. Like everyone says, like who's the best carrier? And there's no one good answer. It's what you need. So
I agree. I hate it. I hate when they have the best colleges in America. And I always think, well, first off, people are marketing to those, but I think it's also like saying, oh, well, this is the very best girlfriend or the very best wife. You're like, well, everybody's got a little different wants and needs and tastes. And the college that's 30 minutes from my house, that sounds like a pretty good fit for a lot of people, right? I don't have to go across the country and pay out of state. I hate that kind of thing because I think it's not useful.
yeah, just to go back real quick, so on the TMSs, right? So we do have 3G TMS, which is multimodal, good for brokers, managed transportation providers, and shippers. Then we have our more like if you really just are focused on domestic brokerage, you can do Aljex. And then we also have our Descartes TM. There's a lot of other things around that, but yeah, it gets into fleet planning along with contract carriage. So, and like you said, our broker forwarded solutions. So there's not really one TM that we're pushing here.
Yep. And then you mentioned the MacroPoint also. MacroPoint was the old and it's not old. I know it's been updated. It's not what it once was. I remember the first time somebody said to me, I was at a brokerage. Oh, well, we need MacroPoint on this shipment, and I was like, what? What? What do you need? They go MacroPoint, and then they described it, and they said the trucker. This is how long ago the trucker downloads something onto his phone, and I was like, oh, and then what? And then they track, and I was like, oh my god. I told people at parties like how cool this was, and they're like, you can do that? I was like, yeah, yeah, just get the trucker to download it. And we've come a long way since then. But that was prior to anybody saying we can put code into the ELDs because ELDs, while they were out there, they weren't mandated then for hours of
Exactly.
service.
They weren't mandated. Yes, we started on the cell phones, and then yeah, now ELD is definitely preferred. And we also integrate into all the TMS.
But you do it a lot of different ways, I know.
But yeah, but the long tail is still there. So there's plenty of drivers and owner operators or people running, ELDs that are not connected. And there's a lot in the news right now. Like some people are like, maybe they want to go back to paper logs for a bunch of people. So there's always going to be a long line of folks that you got to meet people where they're at.
You might say, I want to track local box trucks who doesn't need an ELD. You might want to track a van, a Econoline van or a Sprinter. A lot of those guys are going to say, I don't have any of that cool tech. I'm a gig economy guy, but we can still track them that way. And I think it's nice to have that option. But I remember that was the first visibility solution I ever heard of, well before. I mean, I'm not disparaging the others, but it was the first one I heard of. And then it just was an avalanche of those that popped out. And I think the key, though, is this is integrated. So when you say you use our 3G TMS or our LJX or Descartes TM or any of our products, MacroPoint is integrated.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's all integrated, especially on top of that global logistics network. So if you want to use, old school EDI, you want API, portals, that's the thing. It's like we're meeting people where they're at, and you come and you're already connected into that network, right? So a TMS without the connectivity is pretty useless, right? You need to have all your partners connected into it.
So who's your ideal customers? I know there's more than one segment. Give me a few of the segments.
Yeah, so within the transportation management pillar, for sure, we work with enterprise shippers. We work with medium-sized shippers, folks that are going to have multimodal, some complexity, where they're need to look at LTL versus multi-stop truckload. Maybe they're dealing with pool networks, things like that, or even private or dedicated fleet. And then on the brokerage side, we work with startups. I mean, two people in a garage, all the way up to billion-dollar brokerages and all that stuff. So it's very scalable from that aspect, and it can be kind of a one-stop shop, for everything you need. Just connect to the load board, connect to some financials in the back, and run it that way. And then we also get into managed transportation as well on the 3PL side. Again, because of the configurability and easy onboarding of things like that. So it's people that have complexity, I would say, in some aspect of their supply chain, and they're looking for someone that's a solid vendor, and again, who has pre-built all the connections out there. And so you connect into Descartes, and you're connected.
Yep. And Descartes is based in Toronto. And I always say this when I talk to my Canadian friends, of course, doing business throughout North America. And but that might make somebody who has cross border stuff say, "Hey, well, that's even better because they're based in Canada. Clearly, going to have those solutions going to be good." And increasingly, those are going to become really important with the cross border in North America, both U.S., Mexico, Canada.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, cross-border is a big part. We've been tracking that in MacroPoint for a long time. There's still some issues there with, cargo changes hands so many times, but we feel we're ahead of the game in tracking all that, and I don't see the cross-border stuff going down anytime soon. So we're tracking that. We're tied into. I mentioned the connectivity. We get customs data pulled in as well. So we can track that, ocean, air, but also truck from Mexico. So not just where the load is, but what part. So we're pulling in that data. What status is it in? not just that it's sitting there in the yard.
Going back 10, 15 years ago when I was still moving freight, I would say we have real time visibility. And what I meant by that was within an hour or so. And slowly but surely, you technology guys are going to make us honest. Like, so we're going to say real time visibility is actually real time visibility.
Yeah, exactly. It's all whatever your shipper, requires you to have. That's what it'll end up being. So there have been some mandates out there around visibility and 15-minute updates and temperature monitoring